Hi, this is Mary Jane from Freedom Financial Solutions SMSF setup team. This is a very short video to help you navigate our order form, answer some very commonly asked questions about the process of setting up the self-managed super fund. If you've got other questions about what you can invest in or paperwork and management, then please book into the other videos, interactive sessions, or watch the videos that Catherine Smith, our CEO, has done. Right, so without further ado, this session will cover the overview of the process and frequently asked questions, what we do and what your responsibilities are. So without further ado, I will share my screen. Right, okay, so here we have our website. So basically, the overview of the process. This is a very complicated process, but rest assured, we will do 95% of it, and we just ask that you do your 5% of it. So where do you find that process? Go onto our website here, freedomffs.com.au, and go down here to click here to find out how to set up an SMSF. You can also go to here, SMSF setup. So we'll click on that. So here you have the order form, the SMSF introduction, commonly asked questions, and SMSF paperwork and management, commonly asked questions. So let's look at the order form. The order form, again, it's quite complex order form and much more complicated than our order form last year. And that is because we know that the ATO, the outgoing super funds, and the bank will need this level of detail in order to get your funds rolled across from your outgoing retail, or also known as an APRA super fund, into your new self-managed super fund, SMSF. So first of all, we'll glance through this detail here, but we'll go down here to the SMSF setup process and timeline. What we've got here is a quite detailed explanation of the timeline. You can look at this. We do 95% of it. And the three things that you need to do is lodge your completed order form. And we'll go through that in a minute. The second thing is that you need to return your signed legal paperwork, the establishment documents, with your rollover instructions. And the last thing that you need to do is approve the Macquarie Bank application. We prepare the establishment documents and send it to you with very clear instructions about how to complete them and return them. We prepare the Macquarie Bank application, and we will email you with some detailed instructions on how to approve it. So they're the three things that you need to do. Fill out this order form, do the establishment documents, and approve the bank application. The rest of it, which involves quite a lot, is left to us. The only other thing you may have to do, and this is 1 in 50 applications, is if the ATO marks your application as what they call election to be regulated, the ATO may call you to have a chat. This is usually very painless, and we provide enough information for you to be able to answer their questions. So if that happens, that's a fourth thing that you may need to do. Okay, so let's just go and have a look at the beginning of the form. So you start up here. Now, the first thing is, if you need to save your draft form and continue it later, then right down here, there is a little button that says save as a draft and continue later. We recommend you do that. It will send a link to your email. It will send you an email with a link to the form so that you can start doing it again. We know that things happen with the internet. Sometimes it might stop working and then you'll have to start it all again. So make sure that you save a draft to yourself so you can keep working on it later. Now, we have two kinds of clients. One is people who want to a new order form. So I'd like to set up a new SMSF. Or if you've got a family member or a friend who wants who has an SMSF and you want to join it, then just select that. So we have new ones or join an existing one. If you do have people who want to join an existing one, the process that we need to do is almost exactly the same. So if you are joining an existing fund, put the name of that fund in there, the fund that you will be joining. If it's a new fund, this is the next question that we often get asked is, what do I call it? Well, obviously you can call it, let's say my name is MJ Liddycoat, SMSF. If you don't want to use your own name, which a lot of people don't, then choose something like Absolutely Fabulous SMSF. Now, you want to avoid choosing something that someone's already got. So how you check that is you go to this government website called superfundlookup.gov.au. You type in the name of your fund in there. Oh, nobody has got that name. Now, if, for example, you type in John Smith, SMSF, oops, what have I done? John Smith, SMSF. Actually, no one's got John Smith, SMSF, but you can see that if it's just Smith, SMSF, there's quite a lot. And certainly if it's Smith Super, there are a lot. Trustee for Smith Super, Smith Super. So use Superfund Lookup to see if anybody's got the same name as the one you're thinking of. And I say that because down the track, when we apply for the ABN, and that's down here, we have to apply for an ABN and a tax file number for your self-managed super fund. If you have a name that is similar to another fund, and if you're in the same state, the ATO may pause your application to review it, and that can take up to 28 days or more. And there is nothing we can do. They will not answer our calls. If we call them to find out what's going on, we must wait for 28 days. The other place that you might want to look is ASIC name search. You can have the same super fund name, but if you're going to have a corporate trustee, that's what we recommend, you cannot have the same name as a corporate trustee. So let's say you wanted to have Smith Super Pty Ltd because it's a proprietary limited company. You cannot have, so here you've got one's in Queensland, one's in WA, you cannot have the same name. So the ideal is that you have MJ Super Fund as the trust, or Pty Limited as the trustee for MJ Super Fund, or Absolutely Fabulous SMSF as the trustee for the, SMSF Super Fund, Absolutely Fabulous SMSF Pty Limited as the trustee for Absolutely Fabulous SMSF. So you've got the same name as the corporate trustee as you have with your super fund. So that's just little tips and tricks on how to choose your name. Make sure it's not the same as somebody else's identically, and don't make it too unusual, because if they think there's a spelling mistake in there as well, that can also hold it up. So then you go down here, and that begs the question, company trustee or personal trustee? Company trustee is where you have a Pty Limited company, which is created for the sole purpose of acting as the trustee for, ATF, acting as the trustee for your super fund, your self-managed super fund. The reason we recommend this is that you can have a single member, one person, whereas if you have a personal trustee, you must at all times have two members. Otherwise, you are non-compliant. And we do have some elderly clients, and sadly, when one of them passes away and they're in bereavement, the last thing they want to think about doing is signing paperwork that an accountant's thrusting under their noses. Also, if you do want to change personal trustees, let's say you've got a husband and wife and they're personal trustees, they have a split for whatever reason, you have to change every single bit of paper relating to your self-managed super fund, every receipt of every investment that you've made, and that can run into $5,000–6,000 to have an accountant make every single piece of paper changed with the new naming. If you've got a company trustee, you just go into ASIC, you change the names of the directors, and it's done for a couple of $100. Much simpler. With the company trustee, you will need to have a director's identification number. That is a 15-digit director's identification number that you will need to put in here. A tip about that, it's not the digital ID. You can see a whole video that Catherine has done on that. It may be one piece in the jigsaw puzzle towards the digital ID, just like our tax file number is, our driver's license, Medicare, all those numbers are. Do we think it's a great thing? It has its benefits because there's been a lot of phoenixing, and Catherine also talks about that. But we use the tools that are available to us to get what we desire. And what we desire right now is we want to get, well, I, for example, wanted to move my super money out of an arm's length retail fund and make it into something I can control directly. And why did I want to do that? Because I wanted to control it directly, and I wanted to make investments that my retail fund didn't allow me to do. So that's why I chose to get a director's identification number to create a corporate trustee. I was a client here before I started working with Catherine, so I know both sides of the process. So the director's ID is something you can call the ATO at 7:58 in the morning and keep calling them until they pick up the phone, and you can do it over the phone if you don't want to create a MyGov app. And that's what I did. For me, my husband and my son did that. Now, if you want information about how to apply for a director's identification number, you can read this on the application form, and there's the phone number. You can do it online. You can find out more information there. We can't help you with that. You have to do it directly with the ATO. So you choose corporate company trustee. I sometimes say corporate trustee or personal trustee. If you do a personal trustee, you must have at least 2 members, and you don't need the director's identification number. We recommend company trustee. Then you just pretty much fill it in, how many members, 1 member, 2, 3. Each member must fill out all the information themselves. You put all your details in there. The reason we need to know a lot about your name is that if your name is not the same on the order form and your legal documentation that we create, if it's not the same as the ATO, we can't get the ABN. If it's not the same as your ID, your driver's license, that will hold up the bank application. If it's not the same as the name that you have on your outgoing super fund, your outgoing super fund won't release the money. So right at the beginning of the process, just look at your name. What does the ATO know you as? What have you applied for your director's identification with? What's on your driver's license or passport? And what name and address and date of birth is with your outgoing super fund? You can iron out a whole lot of problems by checking that they're all the same. So if you've been known by another name, it's not a huge issue. The tax department will probably know that. We may or may not need extra documents about it, but we just like to know in advance. Tax file number, date of birth. We do need to know what state your town is, where you were born, because there are multiple towns in many different states. You know, Newcastle, we might think is in Newcastle, is in New South Wales, but there may be also a Newcastle in another state. Director's identification, we talked about. Residential address. We know that some of our clients are mobile and don't have a residential address as such. We do need a residential address for your legal documentation. So if you don't have a permanent residential address, can you please ask a family member or friend if there is a residential address that they'd be happy for you to use? Suburb, state, etc., etc. Occupation. This again is something that the bank requires for their setup. They have very strange, and it also often changes categories. So if you are a business owner, they will then ask you for a lot of information about your business. If you don't want to give that sort of level of information, you could perhaps call yourself a general manager in the industry that you're in, if it's hospitality or caring, or it's a very strange definition, drop-down menu that the bank has. Just think about where you're working. Are you working in construction? What's the type of industry, and what is the function that you have? You can make it extremely broad. But just put something in there. that covers what you do. Self-employed, they don't have an option for that. So you could put homemaker, just put something in there that is very broad. If you're currently unemployed, you could potentially put what you have most recently been. If we're not clear on that, we will leave the bank application field blank for you to then be able to choose it yourself. The existing super to be rolled out. This fund name is where we need you to put something like Australian Super as an example, or Host Plus. Don't just put your name, as some people do. We don't need the name that is on your account in that fund. We need the name of the outgoing fund itself. And then most of the time it's a member number, but some funds have an account number and a member number. Have a look at your most recent super fund member benefit statement. You can either go into their portal and find the most recent one, or give them a call and find out. But we do need the fund name and your member number and or account number. And if you've got more than one, that's fine. Our setup fee is $2,200 plus $2,200. The GST is the $200, and that includes 2 rollovers. So if you've got Australian Super, Host Plus, that's absolutely fine. That is $2,200. If you've got another one like Hester, maybe, then that will be an additional $220. You can save that money by combining your accounts. If you've got, say, 3 or 4 accounts, what you might want to do is contact the funds that you want to, like, choose one of them to roll into. Let's say your biggest fund, roll the other 2 into it. You can do that before it gets to the rollover at our stage. Similarly, if you have multiple members and each of you have got 2 funds, then that's going to be 4 rollovers. Then it's $220 per additional rollover after the 2 that are included in the setup. So that's there. Now, you do need to fill these out honestly. If you have a tax debt, so for example, if you know you need to pay tax by a certain deadline that has not yet passed, that's not considered a tax debt. That's considered tax that you will pay by the due date. We don't know if they will not allow you to set up a self-managed super fund if you do have a tax debt. We haven't quite had somebody at that stage, but we would recommend that you make sure your business and individual tax is up to date and that you don't have a tax debt. If you are either of these 2, we again haven't had any clients who have texted yes to this, so I don't know what would happen, but when you go to sign the trustee declaration, you'll see why they're asking these questions. That may prevent you from setting up a self-managed super fund. We do ask you to send us a certified copy of your driver's license or passport number, passport details page, but we also ask you to type it in here because sometimes what you send us is not 100% clear. So we just like to double check that it is in there. These, and I'm sorry, I'm umming and ahhing. We used to be able to do it without having a certified copy of your driver's license or passport, but now we absolutely need a certified copy. And what is a certified copy? Well, in each state it might be slightly different. You can search for that online, but typically a Justice of the Peace, a JP, will certify a document for free. So take your driver's license to Officeworks or at home, photocopy the front and back of it, ideally on one page. Take that photocopy to a JP or a solicitor or a pharmacist or somebody else who is qualified to do a certification. Get them to look at the original, look at your photocopy, and then either stamp and sign or write down their name, the date, their qualification, and the signature. We need all those 4 details, the name and the signature and their qualification and the date and their, yes, so the name, signature, date, and qualification, those things. and that will be an original. Then scan that in and send it to us. If it doesn't fit in this box, then upload a blank document to this box. And then once you submit this form, you will get an automatic reply saying we've received your form. In response to that, you can then email us your certified document. We do like it attached here, but we know that sometimes there are IT difficulties. And again, 1 in 50 will just not be able to upload anything. Don't call us, don't email us about that, because it's somewhere out in the ether. We know that happens. Just upload whatever you can to get the form through. So if you've got other members, click member 2 and repeat the process. That's how it goes. So again, just going through this, director identification number. Now, the process that we go through. Then, if you've got more questions, and we know you've got more questions, please join one of our free Zoom meetings. I do this interactively twice a week, Monday at 5 o'clock and Friday at lunchtime. And Catherine does an introduction, which is much broader than what we're talking about today. Then there's paperwork and management made simple. Again, that's to discuss things relating to the legal framework and the establishment documents that you'll be signing. And then there's open Q&A. So if you've got any questions, you can join that and get Catherine to answer those questions. Just going through the order form, client directed authority, no advice. We're accountants, and we're helping you set up the logistical, the process, the structure, the legal structure that enables you to have direct control of your superannuation and make choices yourself about where those funds are invested. We are not providing advice. So I'm sorry if you want us to give you advice on what to invest in. That's not something that we can do. You can ask Catherine in her capacity as an accountant what her opinion is, what her experience is. We can certainly broad brush tell you what some of our other clients are doing as a commonality, but we're not providing advice. Remuneration agreement here, as I said, this is your setup fee. My team does the setup. We do need a $660 upfront deposit. The bank account details are here. If you can't attach the receipt, that's fine. It generally comes through the next day or the day after, and we can reconcile that against your order. We do need that upfront fee. That covers our own out-of-pocket expenses to set up your legal documentation. Up until November last year, we did not ask for a deposit. So if someone says, oh, I didn't need to do a deposit, that's because we originally did not do that, but we had, unfortunately, too many people who were not actually paying the bill at the end as well. So, and we were hundreds of thousands of dollars in the red, and we need to keep going so that we can help you take control of your finances. When you do sign this, put this order form in, even if halfway through you decide not to continue with it for whatever reason, you are agreeing to pay the minimum fee of $2,200. So have a good think before you put the order form in. Annually, the SMSF is its own entity and does need to put a tax return in every year. And our partner sister company, FFSS, does that work for you. So there is a sliding scale. The smaller funds, the minimum is 1,500, and the upper cap is 3,000 plus GST. And anywhere in between that, there is 1% of the value of your funds under administration. That means the value of your SMSF, not what cash you've got in the bank. Even if you only keep $10 cash in the bank, the value of your fund in property, gold, silver, whatever it is you choose to invest in, that's the value. If it's $200,000 value, then our tax administration fee will be $2,000 plus GST. Now, obviously, if you don't give us what we need and we have to spend a lot of time chasing you, there is additional fees. It's just like when you put your own personal tax return in to an accountant. If you make it easy for the accountant and it doesn't take much time, then the basic fee stands. If they have to do a lot of extra work, then they will charge you accordingly by the hour. Now, this ongoing fee is actually charged monthly. So let's say you are charged $2,200 annually because you've got a value of $200,000. We divide that by 12, so it's $183 or so a month. And we do that so that we can answer your questions. We need to pay for our staff throughout the year to answer your questions, and we know you'll have them. So we have them on board, and that monthly proportional fee of your annual fee covers what we need to pay in terms of staff and rent. Then annually, there are other fees that you pay to other organisations, the ATO, the auditor, and ASIC, and you pay those separately. Now, optional, and if you choose this, it's paid to FFS. It's an annual ASIC agent, 300 plus GST. Now, what does that mean? You can read that if we are acting as your ASIC agent, we can do all these things for you. You don't have to pay that extra $330 a year, but if you don't, you are then responsible for doing anything to do with ASIC. Maybe 5% of our clients do it themselves, but everybody else, like myself, thinks it's the best $300 I've ever spent. An actuary, this is a rare case where one person's in pension mode and the other isn't, and we have to have an actuarial fee. So if you do want us to be your ASIC fee agent, then you click here. This defaulted to yes. Sometimes people click no accidentally, but we always chase that out. Importantly, on this, we help you, but this whole process is about helping you take better control of your own finances directly. And so there are things that you need to do. As I said, the first thing is to fill out this form. So we do ask that you agree to take the steps necessary to educate yourself about managing a self-managed super fund to ensure that you comply with and satisfy the ATO requirements. This is a legal process. It is an ATO regulated process. It's designed to help you take direct control of your own superannuation and invest in the things that you would like to invest in. We use these tools to make that happen. So what happens next is that there will be, so basically the first thing is fill out this form, go on to introduction, commonly asked questions. So there are a lot of answers to questions you might have. In particular, I'll draw your attention to this. If you're going in with other people, this is how it works. This self-managed super fund is its single entity with a single bank account. You don't have 3 separate bank accounts. You have one bank account so you can all see what you've got in there. The investments are made by the self-managed super fund. So, you know, person A can't go and buy gold and silver and person B goes and buys property. You all own a proportion according to your the amounts of money that you have contributed. You own a proportion of all of the investments. So have a look at how that works here. So that's very important to know. It is kept track of in real time by our, it's called BGLSF 360 software package. So we know who's put what in and who's paid for what. You have separate investments, but the things like insurance premiums or contributions are allocated to the correct member's account. So member A is not receiving or paying for member B or C's contribution or insurance. So have a look at those commonly asked questions on our website here, introduction. Now, as you go through the process, or if you're really keen to know about a lot of things straight up, click onto this one. This is 11 pages of commonly asked questions, which goes through the legal documentation. It goes through, this is still all the legal documentation, rollover instructions, making contributions. What do you tell your employer? Bank account. A lot of people have questions about the bank account, and fees and other questions. So please have a look through at those commonly asked questions, and then hopefully we will get your order form soon. We spend most of our time on the phone calling the outgoing super funds chasing rollovers. So we request that if you do have a question, send it to us by email. If you send it to us by a telephone call and we can't pick up, it'll go to a voicemail. It's almost impossible for us to return calls during the day as we're on the phone chasing. We have to prioritize. So we prioritize getting the money out of the super funds. So the easiest thing to do is simply send us, put the order form in and send us an email. You can contact us here. You can send us a contact here or an email here, and then we'll get back to you. But before you ask questions, please have a look at the commonly asked questions on the website, because a lot of the questions we know will be answered there. All right. So I hope that's given you enough to get going with. And by all means, please join Catherine's introduction session. Or you could look at the pre-recorded version she's got on her YouTube channel. Once you've done that, join the paperwork and management. And once you've done that and you've still got questions, you can join her free open Q&A session that she also runs. In which case I will also show you where they are. So what you do is you click book now. Okay, SMSF setup, that's what this is a recording of. Then there is the introduction. There's paperwork and management. So for example, if you wanted to look at that, you click Catherine and you can see that she's got one. March 22nd is the next one, and then March 30th. Introduction, 21st and 28th. Q&A, open Q&A, she's got one tomorrow. But please use those open Q&As for more complicated, non-basic questions that you can get through the other sessions or through our online Q&A. If you have a personal, especially tax, or I'm going into pension mode related question, or I've recently come into a lot of money through a parent passing away or capital gains or something, it may well be worth doing a consult with Catherine personally. If you're going to book in for a paid session, I recommend getting really clear in your own mind the questions that you want to ask and ideally answered. So you can also do that and book in. So for example, tomorrow, the only time she's got available is 10:25. So okay, hopefully that's answered a lot of your questions, and we look forward to helping you take greater control of your superannuation. Thanks.